I probably met Frank Zappa when I was in my early 20s. He had just released his first album called Freak Out. His band was called the Mothers of Invention. He was completely unique, cerebral, and funny. He was one of my early radio guests, and I knew he would reshape the musical horizon. He broke the patterns of his time, and his wisdom and perceptions and experimental sounds are missed. Without Zappa, there may not have been Alice Cooper, or David Bowie, or Lady Gaga, or many others who fused performance art and rock. You should have been there.
Oh, yes. And the lyric content of the songs has been pointed out to me as that's really wonderful. The lyric content of the songs, that's the thing about the music.
Let's talk for a moment about the lyric content of your songs. In your album, you have a song called Hungry Freak's Daddy, which was written for Carl Franzoni, and you make these comments on the cover of the album. You say, he is freaky down to his toenails. Someday he will live next door to you and your lawn will die. Drop out of school before your mind rots from exposure to your mediocre educational system. Forget about the senior prom and go to the library and educate yourselves if you've got any guts. Some of you like pep rallies and plastic robots who tell you what to read. Forget I mentioned it. The song has no message. Rise for the flag. Salute.
Do you know what the words are to that song?
I've listened to the song. It's difficult for me to decipher the words in it because the music is so loud.
I'll recite them to you. Mr. America, walk on by your schools that do not teach. Mr. America, walk on by the minds that won't be reached. Mr. America, try to hide the emptiness that's you inside. When once you find that the way you lied and all those corny tricks you tried will not forestall the rising tide of hungry freaks, Daddy. They won't go for no more. Great Midwestern hardware store, philosophy that, something like that. Well, anyway, that's the way it goes.
Now, you write all of these songs.
Yeah.
What are you trying to tell us, or is it just in the music? Is there a message behind all of this?
Yeah.
Basically, what is it?
Basically, the country belongs to the young people. And I think ownership of the country has to be turned over completely to the young. I don't think that the people of the age bracket that is handling things now is qualified to do the job they're supposed to be doing.
Now, we're talking on a political level, aren't we?
Yeah.
Young people should be in political office now, today?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Do you see yourself ultimately in some political position?
Probably not.
Who should be president right now?
Tom Wilson.
Mm-hmm. He's a record producer.
That's right. He produced all of Bob Dylan's stuff up to Like a Rolling Stone, where he left Columbia to go to work for MGM Records, where he produced The Animals and Us and a group called the Velvet Underground, and now he's producing the Fugs.
Now, you obviously believe that your music and the whole freak-out concept has tremendous social overtones.
I think that our music is a mirror of the tremendous social thing that's happening. I think that we provide a convenient outlet for expression of some of the things that are already going on in the minds of the young people all over the place.
Where do you think this country and the young people who shortly will be running it, hopefully, should make the greatest changes? In what departments, in what areas?
Well, I think, first of all, there should be a whole reevaluation of the social sexual codes of conduct. I think there has to be a drastic reevaluation of drug laws. I think there has to be a drastic reevaluation of everything. Maybe if we got back to some of the freedoms guaranteed initially in the Constitution, we'd be a little bit better off, but even some of those things bear updating.
Mm-hmm. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello. I'd like to make a comment more or less on the freak-out sets and the freak-out itself.
Please.
And I sort of have this quasi-theory that the kids of the generation from, say, 1946 on or so have this fear, subconscious or not, of the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that, well, you know, we may not be alive. We may not live to grow up, to have children. So we might as well do now the things that are prohibited. You know, why wait? And so they search for other things that their, you know, elders look down upon and all this. And I just feel that that's what they're doing.
How old are you, babes?
I'm 16.
Frank, would you like to comment on that? You're talking with Frank Zappa now.
Okay.
Frank, any truth to that?
Hold on just a second.
Frank's rearranging his earphones so he can hear you a little better now.
Great.
What's your name?
Sue Taylor.
Sue? You think that the reason people do all the things that they do at freakouts is because they're afraid of the bomb and they have to do a bunch of things that are prohibited?
No, not really. But some of the you know, the wild things, I mean, yeah, I've been to freakouts, and I really get a kick out of it. But I just deplore all these kids, we call them tippy teenagers. They're the ones that dress up in their bell-bottom pants and go down to the strip every Friday and Saturday night.
Tippy teeners?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a new one on you?
Yeah, I never heard that one. I've been calling them strippies.
Oh, that's good, too.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But
You're both magnificent. I just love your vocabulary. Just really, shake hands. And
with mine?
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay. And I feel that the reason that they do this, and you know, they just go down to the strip and all this, is because they have nothing else to do, and they just have this fear that you know, well, why do anything to shape my life? I'm not going to be able to grow up anyway.
Well, I think that's probably a very accurate guess. There is nothing for them to do. A lot of the things that they would normally do on their own, if they had any sort of hope left, it's my theory that the administration in all of its many shapes and forms, I don't mean democratic administration specifically, but any administration that would happen under the present method of government with its present restrictions and present limitations inherent within the system has been carefully breeding out of our race, our little Western civilization here. They've been carefully breeding out any type of attitude that would tend to make change. They've been carefully preparing everybody to just sit there and accept everything that's happening. Bombs, depressions, and everything else. You are prepared so that you aren't going to hassle with it. You're just going to accept it and do the best you can. You're going to get stoned. You're going to, you're going to cop out one way or another. They want you to, because any of the kids, if they were to get together, and if there were anything offering them any hope, in any description, if there was hope in any way, shape, or form that they could look to, that would say, yes, if you do something constructive, it might work. If they had that, they would get together and really, make some changes. But so far, there has been no hope offered, and that's what they're doing. They're just moldering away out there on the strip, and I suppose that's a good a way as any. I'd just as soon see them on Sunset Boulevard as at the roller rink down on Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, that's true, but for instance, you say that the young people should take over the political scene.
I think they should.
Well, I really disagree. I mean, I'm young and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that I'm wise enough. I haven't lived long enough. I haven't seen enough things in my lifetime.
Well, then,
to judge, to make laws that other people should have to live by.
Let me say this. Perhaps you are not, and perhaps you're very honest in saying that you don't feel that you are capable of doing this. But I have personally spoken with kids from 15 and up that I would certainly entrust that to. I mean, I've spoken with kids, and you might describe them as prodigies, but they are available. They're young, and they are interested.
Yes, but they're the minority.
Well, you have a minority running your government. You have that's what a government is. It's a minority. It's a few people that are telling everybody else what to do.
Yes, but it's representative.
Well, I would say let's get the best representative elements from our young people who are,
Okay, so we're going to have to move on because a lot of people want to talk with Frank. But thank you. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Later, babes. Hello, you're on the air.
Well, yes. I'm not. I just wanted to say that I'm behind the Mothers. I think they have a good thing going, you know.
You're behind the Mothers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'd like to ask, more than comment, is I'd like to know Frank's opinion of Bob Dylan. You know?
Frank?
I think he is very nice.
Good. No, but I mean, you know, like my partner and I, we always listen to the Mothers. We pick up on the Stones. And
A little louder, please, okay?
we listen to the Stones and Dylan, you know, besides the Mothers, and they're like two different things. You know, I mean, they don't. They're both more or less expressive, but the Mothers kind of get down to where it's at. I mean, down inside, you know. And I thought that maybe, you know, I mean, I'm interested in Bob Dylan in particular because this is my type of person. But I wondered what kind of opinion a man like Frank Zappa would have on Bob Dylan.
I don't feel that I'm a competent music critic. My job is manufacturing a type of musical product which will convey a type of social, political, aesthetic message that people of any age group and any mentality can understand. Dylan is a poet, and he writes his songs, you know, using images, you know, some of which are very beautiful. But they're also very abstract, and they're not as easy to assimilate as some of our really blatant hokum that we put on our records. You know, where some people would whisper that secret message of whatever it is to you, we're out there screaming it. We're just we're cruder. That's all.
Right. I was just want to make one more comment about. He asked whether we thought you might be just out for the bread. I wanted to say that if you were out just to make money, you wouldn't be singing this type of more or less offbeat type music.
You're absolutely right. They really refuse to play our stuff on the radio.
Right,
KFFK is about the only station that touches it.
Okay, thank you for your call.
Oh, thank you.
Later. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, I wanted to ask a couple questions.
Okay, Rosie.
The first being, I was wondering if Frank had any response to the lyrics on the album being quite audible in comparison with one being able to hear their lyrics at the freakouts. And the other question is how they see what they're doing as related to what the Fugs out of New York are doing.
You're talking about the Village Fugs, spelled
Right.
F-U-G-S, out of Greenwich Village. Okay, Frank.
Okay, first of all, the lyrics on the record, I was not satisfied with the mix on the record. I felt that the voices should have been up more, and the balance between the voice and the track should have been changed a little bit. But unfortunately, there were certain aspects of that whole production which were out of my hands. I don't know what it sounds like from out front at a freakout because I've never been able to see what it looks or sounds like from off the stage. I know that on stage we have a lot of difficulty hearing ourselves sing, let alone think. And
My response would be that the lyrics were inaudible, which disappointed me tremendously.
well, it disappoints me too, but then a sound system capable of doing the job in a hall as large as the Shrine Exposition, where we've had our two big scenes, would cost just a huge fortune, which we just couldn't get anything in there that would do the job. We spent a lot of bread on the PA systems as they were, but they would always just fall to pieces. And about the Fugs, I don't endorse the Fugs. I don't like the Fugs, and the only way that I think we could be compared to the Fugs is we're all ugly. I think that
the relation, at least in what they were doing in the beginning, in terms of satirizing certain elements of popular music.
Well, I don't like to think in terms of looking backwards. Like I heard their latest album. I just don't dig it. I don't think that they're true to form. And now that they've gone with MGM, I believe that they're going to have to dilute their dirty language type pitch to an extent where they're going to be down to what we call musical values, and I hope that they can stand up at that point. I'm in favor of free speech, and on that level, I would say Fugs rock out. But when it comes to the rest of what they're doing, I can't handle it. I'm sorry.
Okay, babes, we'll have to move
Thanks
on.
a lot.
Thank you. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hi. Go ahead.
Actually, I was kind of curious. I guess I've been reading the wrong books lately. And what is a freak out? And who are the Mothers?
Okay.
I don't mean to break the trend, but...
No, please. That's a very
Okay.
valid question. There are probably lots of people listening, who are not really hip to the mothers or freakouts. I will just go this far by saying that one of the mothers, the head mother, Frank Zappa, who's the leader of the group, is here. And he will now proceed to describe the answer to the second part of the question.
One more while he's answering. Why does he call himself the head mother?
No, I just called him.
Oh, well, all right. Why the mothers? I'm just curious.
Well, let him take it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. First of all, why the Mothers? The name of the group was originally the Mothers, just plain old Mothers, which was short for something else that we couldn't put on the marquee. And then MGM Records, who signed us to a nice contract, said, oh, we can't sell records by a group called the Mothers. You got to change your name. So they're going to change it to something really terrible. So I figured, well, rather than changing it to what they wanted to change it to, I would stick Mothers of Invention out of necessity on the end of our name, and we would cop out gracefully that way so we could get our message across to the folks. And that's where our name came from. Now, what is freaking out? Inside of our Verve album, we have an explanation of freaking out, which goes like this. On a personal level, freaking out is a process whereby an individual casts off outmoded and restricting standards of thinking, dress, and social etiquette in order to express creatively his relationship to his immediate environment and to the social structure as a whole. Less perceptive individuals have referred to us who have chosen this way of thinking and feeling as freaks, hence the term freaking out. On a collective level, when any number of freaks gather and express themselves creatively through music or dance, for example, it is generally referred to as a freakout. The participants, already emancipated from our national social slavery, dressed in their most inspired apparel, realize as a group whatever potential they may possess for free expression. We would like to encourage everyone who hears this music to join us. Become a member of the United Mutations and freak out.
Hi, my name is Elliot Mintz, and you're on the air.
Give him a big hand.
Hi. I'm 28, and I don't go to freakouts, but I'd like to just make a couple comments on what I've heard this evening.
Please.
I think from what I know of freakouts and the music that is played at them, that they're really a very, very important thing right now in our society in terms of kind of a return to the spontaneous, a kind of way of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
They're really the last frontier of the religious orgy in our society.
The last frontier of the religious orgy.
And of course, that's read in on my part, the religious aspects of it, which may or may not be there to many of the teenagers who attend them. But in such a regimented society, so egocentric and materialistic, it's so very important that something be spontaneous, that something have no purpose, where the young can freely vent their anxieties or whatever you want to attribute them to. And I think the important thing is getting across to adults or older people the importance of this. I think the music, especially the lyrics of the music, convey the meaning behind the freakouts, and I think that might possibly be lost on the majority of teenagers who attend freakouts just for the sheer spectacle of the thing.
Well, maybe they're picking up on some other element of it.
In the lyrics?
No, other than the lyrics, because it's all-encompassing. There are lots of things that occur during a freakout that one can enjoy or pick up on.
Oh, definitely, and this is the purpose that it does serve.
Fine,
But-
thank you for your comments. We're going to have to move on, okay?
All right.
Good night. Hello, you're on the air. Is there anything that you want to talk to Frank about?
Yeah, I did, actually. I would like to ask him one question.
Okay.
I have a basic concept of, well, my understanding of what the freak-out scene is, and it's another form of tripping out, if I can use this terminology without being too vague. And I've always considered tripping out as being a more or less of a personal type thing, whether it be with acid, grass, any of this general concept. And I'm wondering why the change to making this more or less public type thing, which is the case with the freak out. Is this to try to just make it more popular, the idea of
Interesting
tripping
question.
out, or it just seems to me to lose some of the real perspective of a trip.
Okay, first of all, it's not trip out, it's freak out. I suppose that we could have called it anything else, in the world, and nobody would have been concerned about the title. But seeing as how that one of the initial meanings of freak out, as used locally anyway, it was used to describe a bad acid trip under some colloquial situations. In other words, some people just, used it that way. When we put the title Freak Out on our album, we included a definition of how we felt the term should be used and what it meant to us in terms of what we were doing at the time the album was made. And I just got done reading that explanation to somebody on another call.
You were having a little bit of technical trouble at that time, I think.
Oh, really?
Part of that.
I'm sorry you lost that part of it. Do you think, how do you react to the freak out concept? Do you think freaking out or tripping out should be more of a personal kind of a thing? Do you resent the fact that it's being done in big commercial houses?
Oh, no, not at all, because I'm perfectly open to any sort of expression, and I'm perfectly willing to see it go any way anyone wants it to go. This is perfectly up to them. It doesn't offend me in the least. I'm perfectly content in the way in which I might trip out or in which anyone else wants to trip out. This is fine for them. I personally wouldn't gain as much from this type of thing as my limited realm of understanding is right now, however.
Okay, thank you for telling us.
Thank you very much.
We're just about at the end of the program tonight, and I have a few things I want to say about police harassment. So is there anything else you want to say to us, Frank, before we have to say goodnight?
Got a couple of hot little numbers for you. I'd like to say there was a young man who was on here crediting whatever awareness that he had achieved to a recent acid trip, and we would like to suggest that he try awareness without acid, and he might find that it lasts longer. But that's not all. Freaking out is not just dancing and looking freaky. It's being aware of all the forces suppressing free speech, free exchange of ideas, and doing something about it. Active support of policies of Reverend Malcolm Boyd, or let's say the philosophy of Lenny Bruce, might do something. A therapeutic abortion is also freaking out on a political, social level that calls for activity in the existing social structure, not ignoring it. Stop taking dope and get out there and do something about your environment and prove to people that young people of all ages have enough responsibility to handle things. Why leave it up to the police department? They have their own way of doing things. It just doesn't seem to work.
Words by Frank Zappa, and I thank you for coming here, Frank, and bringing your music, and hope you come back. It's been a gas.